Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. A bit of a fun one today that I played recently on the excavation site map. I am playing the Bonerattlaz Greenskins sub-faction against the Vampire Coast. A bit of an off-meta Vampire Coast build, it must be said. A more elite-focused coast build. So we will have a look at my opponent's forces to begin with. He has 2 units of depth guard in the front. Probably not bad against a lot of the stuff that the Greenskins can take. With the exception of Black Orcs, they'll probably do pretty well against everything. Obviously, pretty beastly stats, good damage output, and have the hunger special rule, so they actually regenerate themselves so long as they're in combat. So pretty nasty unit there. A couple of units of deckhand mobs also in the front row here, and some sirens on the flanks. Terracores in, obviously a ethereal unit, so can be a bit problematic. 2 units of, or 1 unit of, oh no, 2 units of handguns. There's another one there. There's also another unit of depth guard up the back here. 2 units of handguns, a unit of bombers in the center, and some deck gunners. So a very combined arms force here from the Vampire Coast. He's also got a Necrovex Colossus, and for his Lord choice, he has taken Count Noctilus on foot, who's a bit of a beat stick, can take a real pounding as well. Just taking the invocation on him, as well as the Wraithstorm ability. There weren't any summons or anything taken, I don't believe. No other secondary caster or anything, so it'll just be invocations for Count Noctilus. For me, I do have 2 little units of Nasty Skulkers in Deep Vanguard back here in the forest, so they're going to come into play pretty soon. Reasonably cheap front line, so a couple of units of Night Goblins out the front, a couple of units of Goblins backing them up, and then behind this we have some Savage Orc Biggins, some Savage Orcs, a unit of Orc Biggins, some Savage Orcs, and another unit of Savage Orc Biggins there. I also have the Stone Trolls. Took these guys, obviously they have a bit of missile resistance, they're regen, some damage, magic resistance, so not a bad unit. I don't have a Black Orc Big Boss or anything, so they may be susceptible to a little sort of bit of terror outs and that sort of stuff. The Giant River Troll Hag here has taken Spirit Leech as well as Fate of Buna. She's also taken the Blasting Scroll and the Assault of Stone. So lots of magic damage there. She's a bit of a magic battery, and then over here, sort of just off to the side in the forest, I have taken a Night Goblin Big Boss who has obviously all the natural abilities, as well as the Tormentor Sword for pinning people in place, and 2 units of the Night Goblin Squid Coppers. Pretty crazy unit, obviously great charge bonus. Need to use them in cycle charging. Don't have great prolonged combat stats. Very dependent on their charge bonus and their anti-infantry. And the anti-infantry bonus they get. So we were chatting a little bit before this game, and we sort of agreed that there wouldn't be skirmishes, but seems there's some skirmishes from my opponent. So he's betrayed me there, but it was a fun game nevertheless. So we've got the Necrovex and the couple of the deck gunners opening up early. I was a little worried seeing these depth guard. I didn't think I would, outside of the Stone Trolls, have a lot of stuff that's good to deal with them. Obviously, the big guns they don't have exceptional armor piercing stats, depth guard, but they're just so hard to kill. So really, the Stone Trolls are going to have to do a bit of work there. Obviously, my shielded infantry is going to take some shots here, but I'm not too concerned about that. Rather have him shooting at my goblins than anything else, really. Unfortunately, the Assault of Stone does go down here, and I probably should have held that in reserve, waited for a bit of a blob, but I saw the sirens there and figured some magic damage might be pretty impactful. Get a nice charge here on the depth guard with these Stone Trolls, and they're going to really take their toll. This is not a good engagement for the depth guard. Obviously, the goblins are going to take the brunt of their charge, and then in this secondary sort of follow up here, and I'm piling in with my Biggins as well, just to sort of saturate the fight and try and really just crunch them off as soon as I can. The Nasty Skulkers have come in the back here. They've popped their clouds, but they've been seen off pretty quickly. Pretty pathetic leadership, and obviously these depth guard here are going to see them off as well. I did proc their abilities so that they could hold them in place, but that was a bit of a failed move. Obviously this unit of depth guard here has taken a bit of damage, but they're doing pretty well in return. They've routed off a unit of goblins already, and they've seen off these these Savage Orcs pretty nicely. War is going down across the battle lines, but you see here we've pushed through really nicely. The Trolls and the Giant Troll River Hag are onto Noctilus. Probably not the best engagement for them, to be perfectly honest. Oh no, Noctilus does have some summons actually. He's summoned 2 units of zombie pirates here, so obviously the Death Hag here getting routed off isn't an ideal start. But I'm bringing my Squig Hoppers around now. They'll obviously enjoy fighting handgunners. Handgunners obviously have very lousy combat stats, and the combat stats are the similarly poor combat stats of the Squig Hoppers won't be too much of a concern here. So I've actually managed to pretty much work down this unit of Sirens over here. This one is also crumbling on the flank, and there's just lots going on. Obviously the bombs are causing a bit of havoc. Noctilus is just standing here sort of anchoring the line, but I've got a lot of infantry massing around here. We've gotten in on the depth guard. The Stone Trolls still have 8 models, so you can see there they're getting a fair bit of regeneration as they come back in, but these bombers are starting to cause a bit of a toll, and a big misplay by my opponent here. These depth guard don't need to be chasing these guys. That's obviously a very powerful unit that could really be turning this around. Could be screening out for the Necrofex, who's stuck in combat here with Savage Orc Biggins, who do in fact have an anti-large bonus. There's a Wraithstorm got here going down on the Night Goblin, but these depth guard are falling, and over here I'm starting to sort of re-rally a lot of my troops in. My Stone Trolls have rallied and are just sort of having a rest at the moment, but they're going to be regenerating. The Sirens are basically crumbled out of existence. These bombers are done, and there's just a mass of infantry over here for me. So again, these are 45 depth guard over here in the near the edge of the board would be pretty impactful right now. The cycle charging from the Night Goblin, War Boss, and the Squig Hoppers just causing some damage while the Necrofex Colossus' back's turned, and we're starting to sort of just win the numbers fight now. Again, here come my Stone Trolls again. They're going to crumble off these zombie pirates very quickly. These zombie pirate deckhand mobs here are going to basically start crumbling as soon as they're spawned in, just given the surround that the Orc infantry has on them. It looks like he's put guard mode to try and get a few shots into the fight there, because that Necrofex Colossus is starting to crumble and isn't long for the world. Another, the Moondial or whatever it's called has summoned some zombies here, but again, you just see they're stuck in the middle here, and they're just not really getting a lot of unit models getting their attacks off. We've got some chain routing here going on, but I'm kind of pretty happy enough to just let the Savage Orcs sit in combat here. Noctilus is a bit surrounded. He does have an anti-large bonus and some pretty decent stats himself, but the Stone Trolls are going to put at least put a bit of damage into him, and ensure that he can't just sit and sort of just pick off infantry and tank infantry for indefinitely. But we see it's sort of wrapping up now. The Necrofex goes down. I think there's another Wraithstorm going down on the Night Goblin Big Boss here, but with these Depth Guard coming back into the fight, I decided I'd lost track of them as well, so I'm going to bring him in just for a charge. He's going to try and pop his loons on these guys. There's an invocation of Nehek even going down on these guys, so I think my opponent's getting a little bit desperate by them now. Pop the Tormentor Sword on them, so they're just held in place, and basically I decided to come over here and try and just finish off Noctilus and not really worry about them, just let them crumble. I'm also going to bring these nasty Skulkers over here to get their Stink Bomb on them and just once again buff their or debuff their speed. These guys have a little bit of armor piercing, so they may put a little bit of damage on, but it's probably mainly going to be mitigated by the hunger from these guys. But you see the speed again is just keeping them out of the fight. Get Back here is going down to hold my leadership strong, and as you see there, Fermented Fungi pops the missile defense, rampages Noctilus, and that's pretty much going to be where the fight ends. So bit of a fun battle. Obviously a very off meta build from the Vampire Coast player here, bringing 3 units of Death Guard. Probably not a bad unit against the Greenskins, because in the absence of any Black Orcs, they a lot of kills on them, but probably not generating a great deal of value, given a lot of them are Night Goblins and regular Goblins, even regular Savage Orcs. They're a lot cheaper than Death Guard are overall, but bit of a fun battle. I don't play the Greenskins very often, so it was fun to sort of play them. And the Night Goblin War Boss is a bit of an interesting unit as well. Has some good plays. I guess the Tormentor Sword can be a pretty decent ability, obviously with his ability to cycle charge as well, and then obviously with Fermented Fungi, with the potential to rampage units and lower their melee defense, means that Squig Hoppers can be pretty impactful. Thought the Stone Trolls actually did their job. They pretty much or they put a lot of damage into one of these units of Depth Guard, basically disintegrated them. Got pushed off initially, but you see they were down. Over the course of the battle, they've regenerated a lot of health because unit models weren't able to be taken out. Obviously, with the lack of real good gunfire here, they were still pretty healthy in terms of their unit entities, so they got full value for their regeneration. So there you go, a bit of a fun game, something different. Good to see the Vampire Coast not played as a complete gun line or a complete castle, and it's even though Noctilus is a very, very powerful lord, it's nice to see a legendary lord other than Luther Harkin taken for the Vampire Coast. So pretty fun game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.